This is the complete aerial arsenal of the Imperial Japanese Navy and Army. A sweeping chronicle of every combat aircraft fielded between the early 1930s and the final catastrophic months of 1945. From fragile canvas biplanes drifting over Manchuria to sleek, desperate rocket-propelled interceptors clawing toward B-29 formations, this is a catalog of more than 60 machines that shaped the rise and fall of an empire. Japan's aviation story is one of contradictions. Brilliant engineering paired with dwindling resources, tactical innovation undone by industrial limits, aircraft capable of breathtaking agility but often fatally fragile. Across this arsenal we find icons, failures, prototypes, legends, and the machines designed solely for one-way missions. Today we document them all. The Blade of the Empire, ***. Mitsubishi A6M Zero, Zeke. The symbol of Japanese air power. Light, long-ranged, and astonishingly agile, the Zero dominated the Pacific skies in 1941–42. Its extreme maneuverability came from its feather-light structure, a strength and a fatal weakness. Nakajima Ki, 43 Hayabusa, Oscar. The Army's answer to the Zero. Designed around graceful maneuverability, it featured the famous butterfly flaps that allowed impossible turn rates. It became the most numerous Japanese Army fighter of the war. Mitsubishi A5M, Claude, Japan's first monoplane carrier fighter, a revolutionary leap ahead of its biplane rivals. The A5M's clean lines and excellent climb rate made it dominant during the Sino-Japanese War. Nakajima Ki, 27 Nate, a lightweight pre-war Army fighter recognizable by its fixed landing gear. Incredibly nimble and forgiving, it claimed numerous victories in early conflicts. Kawasaki Ki, 61 Tony, a radical shift in Japanese fighter philosophy. Instead of an air-cooled radial engine, it used a licensed Daimler-Benz liquid-cooled inline engine, giving it a German silhouette and performance profile. Kawasaki Ki, 100, the savior. Born from desperation, the Ki 100 was created by fitting a radial engine onto unfinished Ki 61 airframes. The result was one of Japan's finest late-war fighters. Kawanishi N1K2J George, a muscular land-based interceptor with phenomenal dogfighting potential. The George featured sophisticated automatic combat flaps that optimized maneuvers without pilot input, an aerodynamic advantage few Allied aircraft matched. Mitsubishi J2M Raiden/Jack, a pure interceptor built for one mission: climb fast, hit hard, and attack high-altitude bombers. The Raiden lacked the Zero's grace, but possessed raw performance and powerful armament for vertical engagements. Nakajima Ki, 84 Hate/Frank, perhaps the best Japanese Army fighter ever built. Fast, well-armored, heavily armed, and capable of fighting on equal terms with the P-51 Mustang and P-47 Thunderbolt. Nakajima Ki, 44 Shoki/Tojo, a compact, powerful interceptor with short wings and a massive engine, a departure from Japan's turn rate obsession. The Ki 44 excelled in fast climbs and slashing attacks, though young pilots struggled with its sharp handling. Kawasaki Ki, 45 Toryu/Nick, a twin-engine heavy fighter built to hunt bombers and later modified for night interception. Some variants mounted upward-firing guns similar to the German Schrage Music system, allowing lethal ambushes in darkness. Nakajima J1N Gecko/Irving, originally designed as a long-range escort aircraft, it found new purpose as a night fighter. With searchlights, radar adaptations, and upward-angled cannons, the Gecko became a stealthy predator stalking Allied bombers. Kawasaki Ki, 102 Randy, a powerful twin-engine heavy fighter and ground attacker, notable for its enormous 57mm cannon in certain variants. Mitsubishi A7M Repu/Sam. Intended as the Zero's successor, the A7M was faster, stronger, and more heavily armed, everything Japan needed by 1944. Kawasaki Ki-10 Perry, the last biplane fighter of the Japanese Army. Obsolete by global standards, yet beloved for its agility and stability. The hammer of the empire, ***. Mitsubishi G4M, Betty. Perhaps the most notorious Japanese bomber of World War II. The G4M was engineered around one obsession: range. To achieve it, designers sacrificed armor, self-sealing tanks, and structural protection. The result was the flying lighter. Fast and spacious, yes, but tragically vulnerable to gunfire. Mitsubishi G3M, Nell, the predecessor to the Betty and one of the earliest long-range naval bombers, to prove the value of coordinated aerial torpedo attacks. Aichi D-3A Val, the primary carrier-based dive bomber of the early Pacific War. With fixed landing gear and a rugged airframe, the Val wasn't beautiful, but it was frighteningly accurate. Nakajima B-5N Kate, the torpedo bomber that spearheaded the attack on Pearl Harbor. Though outdated by later standards, the B-5N was flown by Japan's most elite aviators, crews whose skill transformed this modest aircraft into one of the most destructive tools of early Japanese naval power. Nakajima B-6 and Jill, the successor to the Kate. Faster, longer-ranged, and far more powerful, the Jill was designed to keep Japan's carrier strike doctrine alive. Yokosuka D-4Y Judy, a sleek, liquid-cooled dive bomber, unusual for Japanese designs, built for high speed. Capable of outrunning many fighters after releasing its bombs, the Judy was employed in reconnaissance, dive bombing, and even kamikaze roles during the late war. Aichi B-7A Grace, a hybrid strike aircraft combining the roles of torpedo and dive bomber into a single airframe. Large, powerful, and versatile, the Grace was meant for Japan's next-generation carriers, but those carriers were destroyed before the aircraft could be fully utilized. Yokosuka P-1Y Francis, fast, elegant, and often compared to the German Ju-88, the P-1Y was a multi-role bomber capable of level bombing, dive bombing, and night interception. Mitsubishi Ki-21 Sally, the Army's heavy bomber workhorse. Rugged, reliable, and flown in every major theater of Japan's continental conflicts, the Ki-21 carried the burden of long campaigns against China and the Allies. Mitsubishi Ki-67 Peggy, one of Japan's best design bombers. Fast, maneuverable, tough, and adaptable, the Ki-67 could serve as a medium bomber, torpedo bomber, or anti-ship attacker. Nakajima Ki-49 Helen, a heavy bomber intended to escort other bombers, but plagued by overweight design and insufficient power. Kawasaki Ki-48 Lily, a lightweight, fast bomber extensively used in China and Southeast Asia. While it lacked payload capacity, its speed and responsiveness made it a favorite among crews during the early years of the conflict. Mitsubishi Ki-30N, an early war light bomber with fixed landing gear and dependable handling. It served heavily in the initial Japanese offensives, where Allied air defenses were sparse. Kawasaki Ki-32 Mary, a liquid-cooled light bomber that operated alongside the Ki-30 in Japan's early conquests. Mitsubishi Ki-51 Sonia, a durable ground attack aircraft built to survive low-altitude operations. Slow but extremely maneuverable, it excelled in rough terrain and jungle warfare. Nakajima G8N Rinzen/Rita, a massive 4-engine heavy bomber intended to strike deep targets, even the U.S. mainland. Tachikawa Ki-74 Patsy, a pressurized long-range, high-altitude bomber built to reach targets as distant as India. The Eyes of the Empire, ***. Japan's reconnaissance aircraft were the scouts, couriers, and shadow watchers of the Pacific. Fast, efficient, and often uncatchable. Mitsubishi Ki-46 Dyna, one of the most elegant aircraft of the war. A streamlined, twin-engine design optimized for high altitude, high speed, and long-range recon. Nakajima C6N Cyan/Mert, Japan's premier carrier-based reconnaissance aircraft. Lightweight, extraordinarily fast, and engineered for endurance. The C6N became legendary for its final transmission. No Grummins can catch us. Mitsubishi Ki-15 Babs. A pre-war speedster used as a high-speed courier and recon aircraft. Tachikawa Ki-36 Ida. ASDOL, short takeoff and landing. Aircraft designed for Army cooperation, artillery spotting, and liaison duties. Kyushu Q-1W, Lorna. Japan's only aircraft designed specifically for anti-submarine warfare. Rulers of the open water, ***. These aircraft patrolled the vast Pacific, scouting enemy fleets, escorting convoys, and supporting amphibious operations. Kawanishi H-8K, Emily. Regarded by many experts as the finest flying boat of World War II. Long-ranged, heavily armed, and superbly stable, the H-8K performed reconnaissance, bombing, patrol, and transport roles. Kawanishi H-6K, Mavis, the predecessor to the Emily, large, parasol-winged, and long-ranged. Mitsubishi F-1M, Pete, a compact observation biplane floatplane launched from cruisers and battleships. Aichi E-13A Jake, the standard long-range reconnaissance floatplane of the Japanese Navy. Nakajima A6M 2N Roof, a Zero fighter retrofitted with a massive central float, an attempt to turn islands without airstrips into improvised fighter bases. Kawanishi N-1K1 Kyofu/Rex, the floatplane ancestor of the ferocious N-1K2 J. George fighter. Unusual, powerful, and surprisingly capable, the Kyofu was meant to support amphibious operations, but production delays limited its impact. Aichi E-16A Paul, a reconnaissance floatplane with the unusual ability to perform dive bombing thanks to specialized dive brakes. Nakajima E-8N Dave, a catapult-launched biplane used for artillery spotting and general reconnaissance from capital ships. Engines of logistics and learning, ***. Japan's war machine relied heavily on transport craft and trainers, the unsung backbone of military aviation. Mitsubishi Ki-57 Topsy, a transport derivative of the Ki-21 heavy bomber, used to move troops and high-ranking personnel across Japan's sprawling front lines. Showa/Nakaja L2D Tabby, Japan's license-built version of the American DC-3. Ironically, both sides flew nearly identical transports during the conflict, a testament to the DC-3's unmatched design. Kakusai Ki-59 Teresa, a light transport monoplane with a high wing and modest payload, used primarily for short-range personnel movement and supply hops. Tachikawa Ki-54 Hickory, a twin-engine trainer and light transport used for navigation training, bomber crew instruction, and VIP transport. Tachikawa Ki-9 Spruce, a ubiquitous biplane intermediate trainer. Slow, stable, and forgiving, it introduced new pilots to aerobatics and basic military flying. Yokosuka K-5Y Willow, the Navy's most numerous trainer, the Red Dragonfly. Its bright orange airframes dotted training fields throughout Japan, producing nearly every naval aviator of the war. Kyushu K-11W, trainer/anti-submarine. Originally built as a bomber crew trainer, but increasingly used in anti-submarine roles during the desperate final months. Kakusai Ku-8 Gander, Japan's primary assault glider, capable of carrying troops or light vehicles. Used experimentally in airborne operations, though never in mass numbers. The Desperate End, ***. Japan's final aircraft designs reflect a nation under siege. Innovative, frantic, tragic, and often extraordinary. Yokosuka MXY-7, Oka/Baka, a rocket-powered, man-suicide weapon carried beneath bombers. Once released, it accelerated to terrifying speeds, making interception nearly impossible. Nakajima J-9Y Kika, Japan's first jet aircraft, inspired by the German Me-262, but adapted to local materials and limited resources. Mitsubishi J8M Shusui, a rocket-powered interceptor based on the German Me-163 Comet. Kyushu J7W Shinden, one of the boldest Japanese aircraft designs of the war. A canard interceptor with a rear-mounted propeller. Nakajima Ki 115 Tsurugi/Sabre, a crude, cheap, one-way attack aircraft built from non-strategic materials like wood and metal tubing. Manseiyu Ki 98, a radical pusher-prop liquid-cooled heavy fighter project, intended for ground attack and interception. 60 aircraft, each a reflection of Japan's wartime evolution. The fragile biplanes of the 1930s, the graceful Zeros that dominated early skies, the bombers that expanded an empire, the scouts that watched the oceans, and the desperate rocket craft of a nation in its final hour. Together, they form a portrait of ambition, brilliance, innovation, and ultimate collapse. From icons like the Zero and the Betty to exotic creations like the Shinden and Oka, this aerial arsenal remains one of the most complex technological stories of World War II. Which aircraft fascinated you the most? Tell us in the comments below.